I wanted to continue what I have been doing for the past couple of weeks. What we have been doing the last couple of weeks is that we have been through the process of displaying my FBS program rankings 1 through 134 going into the upcoming college football season, going into 2024. Now, couple of disclaimers. One, this is not me ranking the teams that are going to be on the field per se. This is ranking the overall program, so to speak, going into 2024. And how I ended up ranking these programs from 1 to 134 is that we went about doing it based off of a few factors. One, we went with on-field success. That is key, but winning against a Power 5 team and winning against a Group of 5 or an FCS team is weighted differently. So I talked about that more in the very first episode when we ended up doing these rankings. So if you want to get more context, you could check that out down in the playlist. But we also account for a couple of other things as well. We also account for how is your talent acquisition? Where do you stand among your peers when it comes to high school ranking and when it comes down to utilizing that transfer portal as well? We get these rankings based off of 247 Sports. Plus, we also take into account how much stability and how much continuity is there in the head coaching position. What is the stability like at that head coaching position? And so we looked at that over a 5-year period from 2019 to going into 2024. And based off of that, this is how we came with those rankings. Last time out, we did 101 through 120. So today, we find ourselves in that top 100. And so, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into what we got going on at number 100. The team that just barely made it into the top 100. I have from the MAC, I got the boys from Northern Illinois. Now, Northern Illinois, they do have that continuity at that head coaching position. Thomas Hammock has been the head coach of Northern Illinois for the past 5 years. However, during his 5-year tenure at Northern Illinois, it has been a little bit on the inconsistent side. We've seen a year in which Northern Illinois nearly had a 10-win season, but we also seen NIU go completely winless as well. It's one of those things where you don't really know what you're going to get. Maybe we see a little bit more consistency going forward, but that does hold Northern Illinois back a little bit, so to speak. And plus, when it comes to their recruiting and their talent acquisition, they do find themselves consistently outside of the top 100 as well. So while they do have that head coaching continuity, which does help, those other two factors do hold them back a little bit more. And therefore, that's why I have NIU at 100. Quickly moving on, though, I have the Arkansas State Red Wolves coming in at number 99. Now, Arkansas State is not as consistent with its stability at the head coaching position. They had to bring in a brand new head coach in Butch Jones, and coming into last year, we were not sure if Butch Jones was going to survive this season, but Butch Jones does get Arkansas State to its very first bowl game since 2019, so this is a program that might be going in the right direction. 2 bowl appearances in 5 years doesn't necessarily help the cause, but, Arkansas State is improving, I think, under Butch Jones, which is good to see after he was made into a meme during the very early portions of the football season, where he allegedly was fake crying on the sideline after his team was getting absolutely raw dogged by Oklahoma, but that's a story for another time. Not only are they also recruiting in the top 100 consistently, though, they're almost recruiting in the top 90. So they're recruiting at a higher level than NIU, which allows their upside for on-field performance to be higher as well. So I have Arkansas State at 99. Keeping it down south, though, I want to continue to move on to number 98. How about the Mean Green of North Texas? And the Mean Green of North Texas, them boys they have a newer coach in Eric Morris. He just finished his first year as the head coach of North Texas. We also saw North Texas upgrade conferences. They were in the Conference USA from 2013 to 2022, but this past college football season, we did end up seeing North Texas in the American. They did almost make a bowl game from this American conference. So North Texas does have a little bit of a higher profile now, which is good to see. They also are actually recruiting inside the top 90, unlike Arkansas State, who is barely outside of the top 90. That's how close it is. That is how close it is between these programs at times. It really does feel like they're splitting hairs at some moments. So, North Texas, I do barely have ahead of Arkansas State, who comes in at number 98 for me. Now, going in at number 97, I got Western Michigan. The Broncos of Western Michigan, has had that continuity at head coach for the most part. Tim Lester has been around for quite a while. And while they haven't made a bowl game in the course of the last couple of years, what we have ended up seeing is because they have more continuity at the head coaching position, and also because they are recruiting at a similar level to North Texas as well as Arkansas State, that's why I have Western Michigan ahead of both of these programs right now. So Western Michigan also going to be ahead of Arkansas State and ahead of North Texas. I got the Broncos at number 97. Meanwhile, at number 96, I got the Pirates of Eastern Carolina. Now, the Pirates of Eastern Carolina, another program that has had continuity at the head coach. They've had Mike Houston at the head coach of Eastern Carolina, and Mike Houston has had it pretty solid. He looked like he was turning his program well, had an 8-5 season in 2022, but he did take a major step back. We'll see if his ECU squad can bounce back. However, Eastern Carolina, not even accounting for last season, though, Eastern Carolina has recruited almost inside the top 80. That's accounting for high school recruiting and in the transfer portal. Plus, Mike Houston has been around at Eastern Carolina for quite some time. He is entering his 6th year as the head coach of Eastern Carolina. So for those reasons, I did have ECU almost in my top 95. They come in at 96 there. However, I know that these really next 4 might create some controversy. It might create some angry comments in the comments section. I just ask that before you type it out in the comments section. I just need you to hear me out. Here we go. So I have Colorado at 95. I'm going to pause for dramatic effect. But here's why I have Colorado at 95. Yes, they have a lot of hype. They have a considerable amount of energy within the program. Those two things I certainly can't deny. They also get talent at a much higher level than the teams that I've previously mentioned. However, there are two things that hold it back. One, the on-field performance over the last 5 years. When we put together these rankings, for me, on-field success is king. So if you haven't really won very much in the past 5 years, you're not going to be very high on this list. In Colorado, they have not won more than 5 games since 2016. We've only accounted for on-field success from 2019 to last college football season. So within those 5 years, they've won at least 5 games one time. And even in that one time, they went 5-7. So they haven't finished above 500 as a team since 2016. Plus, it has been a relative revolving door for head coaches as well. Mel Tucker was there for just a year. Carl Dorrell was fired after 3 years. Deion Sanders is there now, and yes, Deion Sanders absolutely has significant energy for this team and with the program around it. But will that be sustained? Can Deion Sanders, get them to a point where they're starting to make bowl games? They're in the Big 12 now. We'll see if Deion Sanders can win at least 6 games and, start to turn that off the field hype into on-field success. There certainly is upside for Colorado to move up. Maybe next year when I'm doing this, Colorado could be much higher for all we know, and I could be eating my words. But until they prove it with their head coaching continuity and with their on-field success, I have Colorado down here at 95, at least until further notice. Stanford, on the other hand, I do have Stanford at 94. Now, Stanford has had some good moments over the years, just that it wasn't really recently that those good moments have happened. At least for Colorado, Colorado has at least won 5 games in a relatively different period of time. Stanford can't even say that. Stanford, in the last 5 years, their highest win total was 4 games. And that's it. They have not won more than 4 games since 2018, where they had that long stretch of bowl games under, the latter portions of Jim Harbaugh, and now, and the majority of David Shaw. Speaking of David Shaw, though, David Shaw is no longer there. Troy Taylor is there. Troy Taylor looking to turn things around in year number 2. One saving grace for Stanford is that they actually acquire talent at a pretty high level, which is what you would expect from a Power 4 team. Stanford is actually inside the top 40. In the last 5 years, they've acquired talent at a higher ranking than Colorado. Now, if Deion Sanders continues his work, that is likely to change, but with that, I have Stanford at number 94 because that on-field success has ultimately held them back. Another team that has had its on-field success held back is the University of Nebraska. Nebraska has gone a while without significant on-field success. So Bo Pelini was fired in 2014 because, Nebraska fans and Nebraska boosters, they were not satisfied with what Bo Pelini has done. Even though he's tracked at nearly double-digit win seasons his entire time there. But they found out quickly that sometimes that grass isn't greener on the other side now, has it? Since Bo Pelini got fired after 2014 season, they had one 9-win season. No double-digit win seasons. One 9-win season since 2015. And that was, in the 2016 season. Looking at the last five years, they have not been to a bowl game. Their best year, you could argue, is a tie between Scott Frost's 2019 campaign and his first year under Matt Rule. So the on-field success has not necessarily been there. The coaching continuity, we'll see. We'll see how long Matt Rule stays around. What does save Nebraska, though, is that Nebraska has recruited at a very high rate. Nebraska has recruited in the top 25 over the last 5 years. So the upside is there, the talent is there. They just got to put it together on the field, and they'll find themselves much higher. We'll see if Matt Rule can take kind of that breakout step here in the second year of the Matt Rule era. More to come on Nebraska, but for now, I do have them at number 93. But for number 92, I actually have one of the newer teams at the FBS level, and that is the James Madison Dukes. Now, for some James Madison fans, this could be seen as a slight of some sorts, but guys, I'm accounting for when James Madison was in the FCS for 3 of the 5 years that, we're doing this projection. In terms of on-field success, because I weight wins differently, because not wins are all the same, right? That's why James Madison is probably a little bit lower. But in addition to that, what also holds James Madison back is that they have to recruit at a higher level. Even with FBS recruiting, even with the success that they've had on the field, their average recruiting class for the last 5 years has been in the 130s. Actually closer to the 140. So they're at the very bottom of talent acquisition. They've been a really good development program, though. And Kurt Kennedy has proven that he is an FBS caliber coach, a Power 4 caliber coach. That's why he left to go to Indiana. good luck to him over there. So James Madison does also have a new coach. Bob Chesney is there. He's coming from Holy Cross. He does not have any FBS coaching experience, at least as a head coach, but he's been very good everywhere he's went. He's coached Holy Cross at a very high level, led Holy Cross to 5 FCS playoff appearances in 6 years. They've also, he's also coached at the Division II level, led to multiple Division II appearances, a few years at the D3 level. He's seen it all, at least in the Northeast. Very excited to see what Bob Chesney can do. And I'm curious if that success that James Madison has started with, if that continues under Bob Chesney. But I will say this, I am high on James Madison going forward, and I'm very confident that when we are doing these rankings again next year, that James Madison will easily be in that top 90, at least very much, much higher on this list. At least that's what I'm hoping for. Now, keeping it moving here at number 91, I got the Rainbow Warriors of Hawaii. Now, Hawaii has recruited at a much higher level than what James Madison has, but hasn't really shown it on-field results. They do have a 10-win season back in 2019, but after that, 5-win year in the COVID year, they missed bowl games in the last 3 years. They've also have turnover at the head coaching position. Timmy Chang is down there in his third year. So 3 different coaches in 5 years. That's not a great look for say, but the recruiting does help Hawaii be ahead of James Madison, and Hawaii is also trending in a positive direction. Up next, I got the Army Black Knights coming in up next, and Army comes in at number 90 in my rankings. The Army Black Knights. Some would call this America's team. Now, they have the benefit of not being able to utilize the transfer portal because the academic requirements related to their academies, but they do have stability at the head coaching position. They have Jeff Monken there. Jeff Monken has been there for an extremely long time, has led Army to 5 different bowl games, one in which Army was able to win 4 of those 5 bowl games, 2 of those coming in the last 5 years. We do also see Army joining a conference for the first time since 2004. Army is joining the American Conference. They'll be with Navy as well. So Army going to be in a bigger conference. This is probably the biggest conference that Army has ever been in. They were briefly in Conference USA in the late 90s, early 2000s, but that did not hold water for long. Army is here. Army is now in the American. We do also see Army have that decent level of success. That's why they're at, this number 90 ranking. Up next, we got the Ohio Bobcats coming in at number 89. The Ohio Bobcats, for a long time, we saw Frank Sorlich be the head coach of the Ohio Bobcats. He did end up retiring after the COVID season. Ever since then, Tim Albin has been in charge, but going into year number 4 of the Tim Albin era, Ohio is humming along. It has hardly missed the beach. Now, the first season of Tim Albin's Ohio club was down horrendous, but after that, 2 double-digit win seasons in a row, went to bowl games, won said bowl games. That's a big boost for the guys at Ohio. Now, Ohio does not recruit very highly. They are outside of the top 100, but the on-field success is certainly there, more so than what we've seen at other schools. It's a solid program. It's a solid program in the group of 5. They're going to be here at number 89. At 88, though, is yet another group of 5 program in the Wyoming Cowboys. Now, the Wyoming Cowboys did see Craig Bohl recently retire. He was at Wyoming since 2014, but Craig Bohl is leaving Wyoming in a better place than what Craig Bohl started out with. In Craig Bohl's first couple of years, he went just 6-18, but the Wyoming administration stuck with him, and he's been able to really turn around ever since. We've seen Wyoming go to 4 bowl games in the last 5 years. They've won 3 of those 5 bowl games. They do have a new head coach. Jay Solvell is the new head coach of Wyoming. He's going to be a first-time head coach. Was on the staff for the last 4 years at Wyoming, so at least the Cowboy football players do know him pretty intimately. They recruit at actually the same level at Ohio. I had Wyoming's on-field success just a tad higher than Wyoming. Again, it's razor thin margins in terms of some of these rankings sometimes, and this is a perfect example of that. So that reason, I do have Wyoming at 88. At 87, I do have Buffalo. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a surprise considering Buffalo has only been to one bowl game in the last 3 years, but Buffalo was ranked in the top 25 as recently as 2020. And in the 3 of the last 5 years, they've been to bowl games and won those bowl games as well. So maybe falling a little bit on hard times. The Maurice Wingus era did not work out. Lance Leopold, after coaching there for a little bit, he's now at Kansas, but they do have a new head coach already. Pete Lambeau has taken over as the head coach of Buffalo. This will be the 3rd head coach Buffalo has had in the last 5 years. And Pete Lambeau has experience at the group of 5 level. He's coached at Ball State in the mid 2010s and did just fine at Ball State. Wasn't great, but he was okay. He was solid, not a liquid or a gas. Buffalo actually almost recruits inside the top 100, which is pretty good considering New York is not necessarily a talent-rich area for football. It's more of a basketball type state, but Buffalo, a better program than I think what people realize. Up next, I do have Utah State at number 86. Utah State, another program that is a consistent player in bowl season. They've been to 4 bowl games in the last 5 seasons. They've had Blake Anderson handling things at Utah State going into year number 4. Just a good program. Just a good program with some high watermarks, such as an 11-3 season back in 2021 that saw Utah State ranked in that top 25. What does hold them back a little bit is that they don't have those conference championships in the Mountain West. Plus, what we have also seen is Utah State has traditionally recruited outside of the 110. So that is what holds Utah State back. Still a good program at 86. Speaking of quality programs, in a group of 5, though, we got the Georgia State Panthers. The Georgia State Panthers do end up coming in at number 85. Now, at number 85, yes, Georgia State, when I first made these rankings, well, we ended up seeing Sean Elliott go and take an assistant job somewhere else. But Georgia State already has a new head coach. Del McGee is new head coach of Georgia State. We actually talked about him on the last podcast. We're actually feeling pretty good about Del McGee and what he could do at Georgia State. And Georgia State is in a pretty good spot. Sean Elliott did his thing for the Panthers, led them to 3 bowl games in the last 4 years. Just a good program in the Sun Belt. They do also have a decent job of recruiting. They recruit at a slightly higher rate than Utah State. Very close between Georgia State and Utah State, but I do have Georgia State at that number 85 spot. At number 84, I do have UAB, and UAB, led by their head coach, Trent Dilfer. Now, Trent Dilfer hasn't been, a great coach for, say, in the American, only 4-8 in his first year, but UAB, after they had their program discontinued for a few years, I mean, ever since UAB's program came back, it's been a good program. I mean, Bill Clark did his thing, and, Trent Dilfer is going to try to do his best to, keep it up. UAB is also recruiting inside the top 100 as well. So that's another thing to note. UAB has been in 3 bowl games in the last 5 seasons. But yeah, man, it's interesting to see what UAB becomes in the American Conference. Not a bad spot for a program that didn't even exist for much of the mid 2010s. Shout out to them. At number 83, though, I do have Marshall. Marshall coming at number 83. The Thundering Herd also been in those bowl game considerations. They've been a consistent player in bowl season, meaning bowl games in 7 consecutive years. That is amazing to see for a group of five program. Absolutely. They have a head coach in Charles Huff who's doing okay. He's going to be into year number 4 and has continued that streak for sure. Before that was Doc Holliday, who was the longtime head coach of Marshall. They've also have overseen a transition from Conference USA to the Sun Belt being a superior group of five product as of right now. And they recruit in the top 100 when it comes to their talent acquisition as well. So just a good program in the Sun Belt. A lot of competitive football happening in the Sun Belt. Also, a team that's been, interesting to watch is Florida Atlantic at number 82. Now, Florida Atlantic has been down the last few years, ever since the last Lane Kiffin season, one in which Lane Kiffin went and won double digit games, won the Boca Raton Bowl. That has been great for Florida Atlantic. They haven't won 6 games or more since then. Willie Taggart was there for a few years. He ends up getting canned. And then Tom Herman is there. He actually was the head coach, or not head coach. He was the offensive coordinator at Ohio State. Um, when we saw Tom Herman win that national championship under Urban Meyer. He's here at Florida Atlantic. He's kind of been head coaching at multiple places, Houston, Texas, etc., etc. Florida Atlantic does not necessarily have that on-field success, obviously, and they don't really have coaching stability, but they recruit inside the top 85, and that's far better than what many of the group of five teams can boast for sure. We'll just see if that on-field success finally catches up so that Florida Atlantic can be higher. But for now, while they have the upside, they are at number 82. And then finally at number 81, I got the Rockets of Toledo. The Toledo Rockets are certainly one of the best programs in the MAC right now. Not the best program in the MAC, but they're certainly number 2. Toledo has really hit on his head coaches. Jason Candle has been there for a while, since 2016, has guided the Rockets to a very successful tenure, had Toledo ranked as high as number 23 in the AP poll, on his way to an 11-3 season, and Toledo has consistently finished as an above 500 team, and this has happened since 2010. So really just a standard of success at Toledo at this point. But before even Jason Campbell, they had Matt Campbell. Matt Campbell was the head coach of Toledo. He was there before he went to Iowa State. So they just know a thing or two about getting high quality head coaches in Toledo. They have the coaching stability. They also recruit inside the top 90, almost in the top 85. And of course, they have the on-field success to back it up. It's one of the best programs in the MAC. And I'm surprised as well. And this is what helps Toledo as well. Jason Candle had opportunities to coach in the Power 5 and has declined them thus far. So big get by Toledo to keep their head coach. And Toledo is one of the better programs in the group of 5. I have them at number 81 for this reason. But that's going to include another portion of these FBS rankings. We did 81 through 100. If you watched the first couple of parts, let me know down in the comments what has surprised you so far. Are you surprised to see certain teams, appearing already? Are you surprised that I have other programs that I haven't even mentioned a little bit higher than maybe what the average person would say? Certainly let me know down in that comment section.